Hello, Monash Mofo here with another OCS Blitzkrieg Legend playthrough, beginners playthrough I should say. Finally got back to the table after a few days of, family stuff and all that non-kind of gaming stuff that gets in the way of all those fun and games. But anyway, I'm back to the table tonight, having a few bevies and let's make my way through the German turn 2. We got through German and the Allies turn 1, rolled again. The Germans got to then have the first turn on turn 2. Interesting thing happened though, they actually had a pause check when you roll for your variable replacements. In Blitzkrieg Legends, you can have a thing called a pause check, which is basically to simulate the German High Command kind of getting a bit antsy about the Panzers. Basically, it was a real surprise about how well that the offensive went through France, and as they kind of pushed up to the coast, and were kind of pushing the Germans, pushing the British and their French towards the North Sea, the German High Command started to get a bit antsy and started to put the brakes on Guderian and his mates. And anyway, I got that role, so basically I'm limited to, if anybody actually knows OCS, to activate any of my, I basically can't use the 1 SP per division rule. I need to use 1 T per unit, which, if you don't know OCS, let's just say it's very, very limiting, because it's logistics, yay, exciting, but it's really, really limiting, which is awesome. That's cool. I was very tempted soloing to kind of ignore it, but I went, nope, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to roll through it. So I had to be very, very resourceful with my supply this turn. Also realising that the French, if they attack, or any of the Allies attack, I still need to have supply to defend next turn. So it was a fairly limited turn. I did a bit of movement, but in terms of combat, well, let's get kicked off. Well, first of all, I went heavy on the air, and I probably shouldn't have, but I just wanted to use it. It probably, and I assume you can actually, if you have air on that turn come in, I assume that you can actually hold it at the base off board until you want to use it. Now, considering it's pretty expensive to refit aircraft, so I probably should have. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I used it all because I love air, and I just went to town. As you can see, all these kind of DGs around here, around here, around here, around here. I just went to town. Nothing really, really exciting to report. Just a lot of disorganisation for the French and the British, with my Heinkel 111s, and did a little rebasing and that kind of stuff. So that was awesome. Then I got into trace supply after a lot of movement and stuff like that, and to start to get to use extenders. It's a little bit hard to see here in the video, but I've got these guys here, are basically my furthest, and just by using my extender here, extender here, it's a bit hard to see, and then right, I'm just going to have to tilt the camera a little bit so you can see. Then right here we have a supply point here. You can see that little SP and an 8 throw headquarters. So he throws 8 to the extender there. The extender then goes to there. He's using 10 leg MPs, and then he throws up to here, and he actually lands beside the furthermost division, Panzer division up here, but you can actually draw from the hex beside you, which is fantastic. Very, very lucky, because I didn't really plan it out like that, but Anyway, that kind of worked out for the best. So that was trace. I went through the trace, and all my divisions are actually in trace, which is awesome. Unfortunately for the Germans, they can't use any of the French rail, which kind of makes sense. So you kind of have to be very, very judicious with your use of extenders, I assume, and kind of moving your headquarters about and the like. Anyway, we got into some combat. Now, just trying to do a little bit of cinematography here. Ooh, that's terrible, but anyway, deal with it. So we had quite an important road kind of leaning up here. We had a British unit, British battalion in here. Infantry division, sorry, the 12th British Infantry Division. It was quite a weak. Only had an action rating of 2. So what I did before, I had the 8th Panzer Division just sitting here. So I split them up, and I sent kind of all my armour up north here. So I think I've got a lot of armour here. Yeah, it's all kind of armour there. And I left my non-armour divisions in this hex here. So we've got like a mechanised division, sorry, I should say. And then we've got some motorised infantry and some artillery. They only count for 1. Anyway, they smashed through because I was able to use... So they stayed here. They attacked into the village of Doullens. I used this battalion here. As you can see, 5 action rating modifier against a 2. That contributed a lot. I rolled poorly on surprise, but it didn't matter in the end because then I rolled snake eyes or 11 on for the attack, and with the modifier, I had actually bombed that area beforehand. So the British Infantry Division was actually down to 1 action rating, so that was a difference of 4. So that made a massive difference. So anyway, moving on. That's good because that actually, I should just quickly show you. That freed up. So we've got that main road kind of going through there now. So we're really starting to look at getting in and behind the Allies here. Kind of looking to push up here. Kind of inside of like airfields here, you know. There's another airfield here. I should say it's here. I've got it offset, the city of Bethune. So things I think are really going to happen on this kind of flank. Next German phase I should say. Anyway, then we've got probably the biggest obstacle for the Germans. Adjust my camera there. Mentioned in previous videos around the city of Arras. I did a really shitty attack here with the Germans. I'll just take you through it very quickly. This is the result at the end of things. As you can see, I've got the SS Totenkopf here, and then I've got the 12th Cuirassiers here. Oh, well, that's who retired actually. So I've got the 3rd Motorised Division anyway. The result of the battle was I went in with a 1-to-1, which was stupid. I did have a +1, a 1 difference in the action rating the Germans had their lead. Their lead unit had an action rating of 3. The French's best was 2 due to the due to the aerial bombardment in the previous, earlier on in the phase, but it was really bad for the Germans. They ended up with a loss of 1 and an option 1 for the Germans as they attacked, and the French just had an option 1. So basically my lead battalion, which was the motorcycle battalion, was wiped off the map, and then my 3rd infantry battalion, no, that's not right, sorry, the 12th, wait a second, let's get this right, the 3rd infantry battalion of the Germans withdrew, and on the French side, here's my cuirassiers, they had to withdraw because my Germans took the option. Then the French also had to take their option, so they withdrew out of Arras. But all in all, it's kind of like beating up against a brick wall there at the moment. You've kind of got panzers going into there. You've got a fair bit of firepower with the French. They do have a lot of armour in there, which isn't ideal in the build-up areas. I'm considering next turn bringing up, it's a little hard to see here at the moment, I can just focus on it. These guys here, the 10th Panzer, and just bring them up the road to assist. They can even go into a hex here to the right to avoid any stacking limitations. Not that that might affect them, I'm not too sure. So that's kind of the options that I have going forward, because that is quite a significant point. You can see all the road and rail leading off of that. If the Germans can smash through that, then they are well and truly in business. They're also getting across the river here, which is quite significant. So basically that is it. That's been my efforts tonight as the Germans. It's going to be interesting with the Allies. I am pretty shit at defending. Well, I think I'm pretty shit at attacking as well. Pretty shit really all around, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the British, the French and the Belgians. I keep feeling a bit about the poor old Belgians stuck up to the north here. They don't really have a whole heap of pressure on them. But I'm happy with my efforts as the Germans to sneak around the back, or smash my way around the back, whichever way you want to look at it. Here, the next difficulty will be then maintaining trace supply and keeping them in supply. I'm really going to have to think about logistics and how to keep all that food, drink, guns, German ladies. Do they have German ladies? No, probably not. Well, they have them, but they didn't have them on the front. Up to the Germans, keeping the morale high, yeah, so that's where I'm going. I'm still enjoying it, still loving it. And the amount of times I come in here, even with all the bullshit that goes around in my normal life, and just come into this room for 5-10 minutes and just kind of pause over this map and just think, and then take a snapshot in my brain, and then I'm at work and I'll be going through it at work, and it's amazing considering how I'm only just scratching the surface. I'm only on halfway through turn 2 basically in my OCS experience, and it's just amazing. So hopefully I'll get a few more videos out before the weekend, and I look forward to talking to you then.